And good Sunday evening. My name is Howie Silberger. Welcome to the Howie Silberger Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network. So happy to be with you tonight. And we are live, which means that you could call in. The number to call, 1-877-669-1292. That's 1-877-669-1292. We got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Sheldon Eric Freed will be joining me in just a minute or two, or three, or four, or two, or one, or sometime in the next couple of seconds. Sheldon Eric Freed will be joining me, and of course, you're always welcome because we like you, and we'd love to hear from you, and so you coming in and talking to us would be a real treat for both me and for Sheldon. More for Sheldon than me though, because the elderly, they need the company. It's COVID time, so you gotta treat Sheldon nicely. He's old. All right, I'm Howie Silberger. This is the Howie Silberger Show. 1-877-669-1292 is the number to call. 1-877-669-1292. The show is brought to you by the letter Q, because last week was brought to you by the letter M, so this week is brought to you by the letter Q. And I wanted to ask you, I wanted to tell you, there's a new drug in town, a new vaccine in town. America is dumping their AstraZeneca vaccine on Canada. They don't want to give it to Americans because there's apparently a danger to taking that vaccine. At least some people are having brain hemorrhages, something we might want to be a little concerned about. So America decided they're not giving it to Americans, but it's okay for the Canadians to have it. So we're getting a whole lot of AstraZeneca vaccine here very shortly. I'm all for it. I mean, let's vaccinate the entire population. I hope that people don't get sick. I hope people don't have brain hemorrhages. But I mean, it's a vaccine, I guess. They're telling us all the vaccines are safe, so I'm assuming it's safe. I don't know. Let's see what Sheldon has to say. Sheldon Eric Freed is my long-standing producer, and he's right here with me. Sheldon, you've been keeping up with the story about AstraZeneca and the vaccine and the brain hemorrhages, haven't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they were saying that they're dumping so many vaccines onto Canada. I'm also wondering if Americans are considering us guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Or is this actually safe? Now, AstraZeneca got approval from Health Canada. So then we have to ask ourselves this, Howie.
Yeah.
Did Health Canada do its job? Like, something is not right. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was something that was made out of nothing or was a very few cases, because you are going to have effects from different vaccines. But the thing is, you're talking about brain hemorrhaging, if you're talking about blood clotting, where exactly what's going on here? And this is one thing that's really troubling to me.
Well, I'm not a virologist or a doctor. I could only tell you what I read and what I see in newspaper articles. And what I read and what I see is that there are cases, not very many, but there are cases of people having extreme reactions to that particular vaccine. Mm-hmm. Now I know people are rejecting it. They're saying they don't want to take it. I don't know if that's a smart idea. I'm not so sure.
I don't know either, because we have to really find out what's going on. Now, Health Canada.
Well, this is the problem, Sheldon. The problem is that these vaccines were put out without the proper amount of testing that normally go through, that drugs normally go through before they're approved. They've been approved very quickly because, I mean, we were in the middle of an epidemic. They wanted to end the epidemic. So these drugs were approved very quickly without the proper safety protocols put into place and the proper amount of time to study these vaccines. So they're basically learning by trial. And this is what worries me a little bit about this. I'm still going to take the vaccine, and I still encourage everybody to get vaccinated. I think this is the only way we're going to get back to some semblance of normalcy. So I encourage people to get vaccinated. I will get vaccinated myself, hopefully soon. But at the same time, I'm wondering. People are scared, and they read these articles about this vaccine and about the problems that this vaccine is causing, and there've been plenty of articles out there, and people are scared, and I'm not so sure if they should be scared, or if it's an overreaction. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess the jury's out, but I got to say this, that where the building that I live in, we all got our vaccines at the end of February, and I got the Pfizer vaccine. Now, other than a mild headache and soreness on the injection site, I was fine. It's now been over. It's over a month that I've had it, because we had it in this building, so everybody was eligible at the time. I never had any problems. Again, I had the Pfizer vaccine. My mother had the Pfizer vaccine. My cousin had the Pfizer vaccine. The people that I know in my family, my brother had it before I did, because he's a healthcare frontline worker. He had it. Again, he had a headache and he had soreness on the injection site. So there's nobody I know in my family, anybody that I know that have received the vaccine, as far as Pfizer is concerned, has not developed any major side effects. Now, AstraZeneca, I don't know, because, I mean, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because obviously they're going to say that, oh, there's nothing to worry about, whatever coming out of them from the company.
Naturally.
But that's normal. But what I am saying is, what's the percent, how many people got affected by this in terms of blood clotting, brain hemorrhages, or anything like that? And what was also, did they have other major reactions that possibly, if they would have had the other vaccines, would they have received those kind of reactions? So this is the thing too. Now, what they usually ask, they ask me if I'm on any blood clotting agents, and what type of medications that I'm on. So I told them the type of medications. I'm not on blood thinners.
Right.
And everything was hunky-dory. I told them all the medications I took. I gave them a list because I had a medical alert thing. So I asked the nurse, I said, is this going to be a problem? She says, absolutely not. Do not worry about it. And the only thing I was allergic to is penicillin. So she says, and I said, is that going to be a problem? She says, absolutely not. And I had it, and knock on wood, everything's been fine. Now, I don't know when we're getting the second vaccine. I'm not sure yet. Probably we're going to get it sometime in May or June in this building where I'm living. And again, it will be the Pfizer vaccine, because obviously you can't go from one vaccine to another, because that would be, obviously, that would not be smart to do that. So we have to take a look at the people that got these type of side effects. What was the underlying thing? Was it something, other things that they were allergic to, or was it something in that specific ingredients in the vaccine?
We're also seeing people getting sick from the Pfizer vaccine and from the Moderna vaccine too. So people are getting sick, but people get sick. There's a certain percentage of people get sick from any vaccine. I mean,
sure, some people have gotten sick from the flu shots.
Yeah, this is not really a foolproof plan, right? The flu shot, people get the flu from the flu shot. People get sick from the COVID shot. I mean, it's not a foolproof plan. Vaccines work. They work to build up antibodies. They work to genetically change your system so that you could fight the virus. But at the same time, I mean, it's still a foreign agent you're putting into your body, and it's still a chemical change or a biological change or a cellular change you're doing in your body, and some people react differently to that. And
look, you take shots like the polio vaccine, which many people had years ago, and now it's polio is practically, finished as far as in the developing countries are concerned. But I think also I have to go by what the odds would be if I wouldn't get it, as opposed to receiving
you're much safer getting the vaccine than you are not getting the vaccine.
That's why I went for the side of caution to get the vaccine, as well as the people that I know in my family that elected to get the vaccine. There's nobody in my family that is elected not to receive the vaccine.
And like I said, the second I become eligible, I'm going to register and get the vaccine. I'm gonna book an appointment and go and get it, because I think that being vaccinated against COVID is the quickest way, the easiest way, and the safest way to get our lives back on track.
Yeah, I would say about 95% of the people in my building elected to get the vaccine. There was 5% that elected not to get the vaccine. But again, it's their choice. But the majority of this building, like again, a good 95% got the vaccine. And I've spoken to people in this building, and nobody has claimed any major, and I'm saying major side effects. So if anything, maybe one had an upset stomach, another one had headaches, and of course, everybody had one thing in common: soreness on the injection site. But that's normal because you would get that in a flu shot. You would get that anywhere. So that, I don't even call that a side effect. So my side effect was a mild headache. That's it.
All right, that's not too bad. If that's the most major thing that's going to happen.
And the next day I woke up, I was fine. I mean, the arm was sore for a couple of days, but big deal because I don't find it was more sore with this vaccine that I had with my flu shot, or when I went away last year when I had the hepatitis A vaccine, or my tetanus shot, whatever. It's about the same thing. A couple of days and the pain just goes away, and that's it.
Yeah, so I encourage everybody listening, everybody watching to get the shot. Don't hesitate. Go and get the shot. When you're eligible, go and get it. I read a lot about these people who claim that the government's implanting chips into our bodies to track us, and all this other BS, and it's kind of infuriating a little bit. I mean, here are seemingly normal people, and I'll use the term normal very loosely in these cases. Here are seemingly normal people who are discouraging other people from getting vaccinated, which may in turn put a lot of us into some kind of danger. It's not right. There are people who can't get vaccinated for various reasons, and if the majority of us do get vaccinated, and the people who can't get vaccinated for whatever reason, some people can't get vaccinated for health reasons. There's all sorts of reasons that people can't get vaccinated. If we do our part and we all get vaccinated, we're protecting those people. So I don't get it. People complain, they're planting chips into our bodies so they could track us. I mean, anybody who walks around with one of these things, a cell phone, anybody who walks around with one of these things has a chip implanted in their body, and they're tracking you, right?
Exactly.
Google sends me, I have a Google phone here. Google sends me every single week, every single month. They send me a map of every location I visited in the city or anywhere.
Well, you could turn that off.
But I'm just saying, they send me a map and tell me how long I stayed at each location.
Yeah, that's already freaky out. Yeah.
So I mean,
I turned that off a long time ago, so I don't get that.
If you're worried about them tracking you, they're tracking you anyway. And if you turn it off, they're still tracking you. Don't think that just because you turned it off, they're not watching you. But I don't care. I mean, this is the trade-off for the convenience of having a phone on me.
You know what? To me, as long as you don't do anything wrong, and you're a good-natured person inside, you have nothing to worry about. It's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and it's a trade-off, right? So you give up a little bit of your civil liberties in order to have the convenience of having a phone on you.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about looking for quarters anymore. So I mean, I'm good, right? But at the same time, we gave up our civil liberties, and the government of at least Quebec, where we're based here, they've decided to trample all over our civil liberties. So here we are. We're in a situation where we have a curfew. It's the only curfew in the world, pretty much. A COVID curfew. We have we have these crazy limitations on how many people we could see and how many people could come to your house. And so we've really voluntarily given up our civil liberties in the name of being safe, in the name of being safe from COVID. But have we really been safe from COVID? Has COVID slowed down because you haven't seen your kids in the last year?
No.
Has COVID stopped because John hasn't worked in 12, 13 months? Has COVID stopped because 3/4 of my salary, 3/4 of my jobs have disappeared because everything's closed? I mean, I don't think COVID stopped. I mean, COVID's still going strong. A year later, and we still, COVID's still around. So these lockdowns don't really do anything. They don't really help. And at the same time, they hurt a lot of people. So this is really where my problem lies. We're living in a society where we've given up our civil liberties, and then the government keeps trampling upon our civil liberties more and more and more and more. So now we're coming up to holidays. We're coming up to Passover. We're coming up to Ramadan. We're coming up to Easter. They're all within a week of each other in the coming couple of weeks. And the government here has announced that that you can't gather, you can't meet, and you can't be with your family during these holidays, and that they're going to go around and they're going to patrol the neighborhoods to make sure, looking through your windows, to make sure that you're not with your family, and if you are, they're going to knock on your door and fine you for having people in your house. Once we get to that point, what's the difference between that and a police state?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where have we? What is the differentiation between that and a police state, where they're looking through my windows, they're peering into my house to see if I have any guests in my house? That I don't even have freedom, I don't even have liberty in my own building, the building that I own. Tell me it makes any sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me at all. And the thing is, I can't even say. There's no question that it's not because of the curfew that cases have been going down. The best way for cases to go down is, number one, for people to urge people to get the vaccine, number one. And number two, that is if the people are able to get the vaccine and they don't have any major side effects. Like if they're able to get the vaccine, please do. Number two, it's all about behavior. If you're going to have 20, 30, 40 people and are not, and not having the social distancing right now, because once we get in the majority, Howie, once we get the 70, 80, 90% immunized against the virus, then we're fine, because then we could have the herd immunity. Herd immunity is only effective once the majority gets vaccinated. You can't have herd immunity the way this government was going to do before, by putting everybody in one place and then with the hope that they would be immune, that they will build up an immunity if they catch it. That doesn't work. But once the majority gets vaccinated, that's a different story. Then the people that get vaccinated, as long as they still keep their safety protocols in check, then that's a different story already. Already there was cases of local schools shutting down, and even in the western part of the city of Montreal, now the government is urging parents and students, and I believe teachers now are eligible, I believe.
Only in certain schools.
Yeah, certain schools within a certain perimeter are now able to get the vaccine. So I urge those schools in that particular area to urge everyone to get the vaccine, because it's a bad area in terms of the amount of COVID, and also in the Côte-Saint-Luc, Côte-des-Neiges area of Montreal, it's really very, very bad areas, and parts of NDG also are very bad areas where people have been coming across a lot with the virus. And this is what we have to be really, really careful here. So that's the best way, not the curfew.
I think
not the curfew.
I think the curfew should be canceled. I don't think.
I never believed in the curfew should have been on in the first place.
I agree.
Because I also think, because you and we've talked about it, we agreed on it, that a curfew wasn't going to do anything. Because if you have it, what's the difference if you have to come back at home at night, but it's okay to be out during the day, and you could infect somebody. So what's the difference?
I could have dinner with you at 6 o'clock at night, and then be home for 8 o'clock at night and still give you COVID at 6. COVID doesn't know what time it is. COVID doesn't
exactly.
care.
So then, why are we the only province in Canada,
and one of the only places in North America, in the world, really?
I think France instituted one also.
No, I mean, currently, I think we're the only place in the world that still has one.
Yeah. Currently, yeah. So I mean, that's not. It's all about the behavior. But the thing is also if you compare us to the province of Ontario, our next door neighbors, for people that are not in Canada, Ontario has 1,800 cases.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's almost 3 times of what Quebec has.
But Ontario's talking
and they're only getting vaccinated 75 and over.
And Ontario's talking about a 3-week lockdown now, a full lockdown for 3 weeks.
Well, that's what happened.
No, but you see, you have to understand, Shelton, and it took me a while to get it, but I finally understood that the lockdowns aren't about you and me. They're not about our health. They don't care about me or you or anybody really. What they care about is saving their underfunded medical system. So they have hospitals and they have medical clinics that have been underfunded for decades. Mm-hmm. when they built the casino, I don't know if you remember, Sheldon, when they built the casino back in the early 90s, they said that they anticipated. The city of Montreal built the casino, then they gave it to the province of Quebec in exchange for the Blue Bonnets race course. So it was a big exchange there.
Yeah.
And the province of Quebec said at the time that the billions of dollars that they were going to raise in the casino was going to go to two things. It was going to go fund the medical system, refund the hospitals and properly fund the hospitals, and it was going to fix the roads. Those were the two things they promised at the time. Our hospitals are still underfunded, and our roads still are crazily bad. So, I mean, that money never went there. Okay, fine. The government lied to us. It happens. Governments lie. We know that. There's no secret that governments lie. But
do they really?
I mean,
Never thought in a million years.
I'll be almost 100% honest with you. Almost 100% because it's never 100%.
99.9.
I haven't met an honest politician yet.
I met one honest politician, HowieSilberg, when he was running for the Côte local election.
I wasn't a politician. I was a hack. There was no honest politicians out there. I was too honest to be a politician. That was the problem. And so I haven't met an honest politician. I mean, there's no real politicians out there. I'm not talking about guys like Dino Mazzoni or talking guys like Mitchell Brownstein. I'm not talking about these guys, right? Because these guys aren't really politicians. They're people who are municipally active, and they're politicians municipally, but they're not real hardcore politicians, if you know what I mean. There's a difference between, let's say, municipal politician, a guy running for mayor, a guy running for city councilor, and there's a difference between a guy running for provincial politics or federal politics. It's completely different. It's a completely different level of politics, and you can't be honest and run for federal or provincial politics. You have to be a liar.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And so the government lied about that, and they underfunded the hospital system for years and years and years and years, decades. And we are bearing the fruits of that underfunding. That's where we're at now. Right now, we are experiencing the fruits of the underfunding. So when they say that you have to be locked down and that we don't want you hanging out with people, we want to curb the I don't remember what the term was there. Remember, it was supposed to be 5 days, and we're going to curb the. What was
I
it
don't
there?
know.
With the virus, we're gonna flatten the curve. That's what it was.
Flatten the curve. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, flatten the curve. And it's gonna take 5 days or 2 weeks. We're gonna flatten the curve. That was a year ago. When they did that, they were talking about flattening the curve so that they wouldn't overwhelm the hospital system. They didn't care that tens of thousands of people were dying. That didn't bother them. It was how many people are in ICU and how many people are going to the hospital and how many doctors do we need and how many doctors do we have and can the hospital system handle it. So all they cared about was the hospital system and the fact that a major epidemic like this, a major problem like this, will actually expose the crookedness of the government and how the government didn't fund the hospital system to start with. So people start asking questions about why the healthcare system can't handle 200 patients or 300 patients with COVID. Why can't we handle that? We should be able to handle that. 50 hospitals, you should be able to handle 200 patients. But they can't handle 200 patients. Why can't they handle 200 patients? Nobody's asking that question because the government scared the hell out of everybody. And now everybody's asking questions about the efficacy of the vaccines. Will I get a headache or will I get a brain hemorrhage if I take a vaccine? And nobody's looking at the government and saying, hey, buddies, in all these years, why are these hospitals so underfunded? Why are they so understaffed? Why is it that they can't keep up with the demand? I mean, there's no reason why they can't keep up with the demand, but they're not. Why? But that question can't be asked because the second you ask that question, they put you into lockdown and you're stuck in your house for a month.
Well, any social programs, all governments have been completely guilty with education.
Yeah.
And healthcare they've been guilty for years. This is nothing new with this government, and it's been like that through previous governments for as long as you and I could remember. That they've always took education and healthcare have always taken a back seat for many, 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 many years. At one point, Quebec was at the forefront for its Medicare system. And then once they started going, we're spending too much money, and then they started going down, and then it was starting to get longer and longer to be seen by a surgeon, to be seen by a doctor. And then some people are having trouble getting a doctor, so they have to go to a clinic. And also because clinics are not open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where do people go when they're not feeling well? They go to the emergency.
Right.
So this is nothing new. And I don't see any future government going to do anything to turn this around. Look, they looked at teachers, and they not only was this the thing with the healthcare system, they put the teachers, the students, the support, and administrative of schools and school boards right in the lion's den. They put everybody hit under the bus.
And they're trying to distract the population by bringing up language problems again. So they're trying to distract the population from noticing that their woefully underfunded healthcare system isn't working by bringing up these idiotic language issues again and again and again. So,
and even on that, when they bring the language thing, they gave a $5 million budget increase to the OQLF and the SSJB.
Yeah.
Where that $5 million could have easily gone for all social programs, including some for Medicare, some for education, our roads, which affect everybody. And, they got to stop with this crap language thing, because I basically just have had it when I take a look at people that are in the teaching profession, like you, my significant other, the roads we travel on, whether or not it's by bus or by car, when you see stuff like Côte Saint-Luc Road that looks almost like a war zone. I was on Linton the other day. If you've ever been in Linton is like, it's like the roads of Afghanistan are better than than that road.
Yeah.
Okay. That's that benefits everyone. Healthcare benefits everyone. Education benefits everyone. The heck with the damn language. It's enough. And they got to stop. And you know what? People aren't stupid. I've seen comments on Facebook, and I've even posted many times myself, instead of the darn language thing, get rid of the language thing, use that money. The French language was never in doubt in this province. It's never been a situation like that. The province is 85 to 90% French. They're going after Montreal, which Montreal did not elect the CAQ government. They hate Montreal with a passion. I'm even surprised you're giving a $25 million payment to revitalize the downtown core of the city of Montreal. I'm surprised on that one. And don't kid yourself. People are going to remember this when it comes to the city election, when it comes to the provincial election, and soon will become on the federal election. They're not going to forget the way people were screwed from their politicians this year.
Look, I spoke to a Vietnamese friend of mine, and we were talking about language. And language comes up a lot when you're talking in Quebec to people. And the topic comes up a lot. And I was talking to this Vietnamese friend of mine, and we were talking about language, and he was telling me that the Vietnamese language is very important to him and his culture. And so he teaches his children the language because it's important for him and his wife and for their children to have the heritage of where they came from and the language of where they came from. And I said, how fluent are your children? His children are teenagers now. They're young teenagers, 13, 14. I said, how fluent are your children in Vietnamese? He says they speak Vietnamese as well as they speak English or French because we taught them, and it was important for us to teach them so they knew what our heritage was. And I was thinking about that. No one had to legislate Vietnamese for him. Nobody had to force it down his throat. Nobody had to measure the signage in his house to see if the letters were double the size or triple the size of the Vietnamese letter. Nobody said put Vietnamese over another language. And his children didn't suffer learning the other languages while they were learning Vietnamese. They ended up learning all three languages, and they became trilingual, which gives them a much better chance to find a job, a worldwide global job, because they speak three languages. It gives them an edge over somebody else who only speaks one language or two languages. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little younger than you are. I didn't live through that whole I was alive, but I really wasn't cognizant of what was going on during the first referendum in the 1980s, 1979, 1980. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware of what was going on at the time. I was alive, but I wasn't aware of what was going on. I was a little young. But looking back and thinking about it, I mean, if French was so important to the French people living in Quebec, well, why didn't they just treat it like the Vietnamese guy treated Vietnamese? And just teach it to their children, saying, this is our heritage, we're teaching you our ancestral language, and you should know this, and we should be able to, we should be able to use this language. It should be a living language. It shouldn't be a dead language. It should be a living language. I mean, Jews teach their kids Hebrew. Hasidim teach their kids Yiddish because this is the language of the people. So it's important to them that their children have their language. So they teach it. Doesn't stop the children from learning French or English or any other language that they're learning. It just adds to their repertoire of things they could say. And so
the idea is to encourage, not to force something down our throat. To encourage.
I know. I understand the history between the France and Britain, and the little bit of animosity between the English and the French when it comes to the wars that happened 200 years ago here in Quebec. But for gosh sakes, we're 200 years later. Get over it.
Well, the thing is, too, the younger generation, too, the young kids that are being brought up now are speaking at least 2 or 3 languages.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing is, when I went to elementary school at the time, it was before French immersion. And it only took place like once I started going into 7th grade, 8, but at that time I went into a private school. But at that time was not available. Royal Vale at the time was only starting to get into a French immersion program, but it was already up to grade 7, and I've already passed grade 7.
Right.
And I already went from a public school to a private school. And yes, they offered French course as part of the curriculum, of course, because they were still under the Minister of Education. Plus, they also taught us Spanish. So we had the extra advantage of learning an extra language. Now I lost it because I haven't spoken Spanish in years.
Right.
But the thing was, at least that was available, and at least it was part of the curriculum. But we didn't. But the thing is, the way the government is doing it, they're going into businesses and they're saying, "Oh no, this has to be a smaller size." What is this about size? I mean, when they
superiority, right?
Yeah.
So the king sits on a throne. Why does he sit on a throne? The throne is on a platform. The king sits on the throne on a platform. Why does the king sit on the throne on a platform? Because he has to be above his subjects, right? So the platform lifts him above the subjects, and the throne is huge, and it lifts him above the subjects. So he's looking down on his people.
You take a look at Montreal, where up to 1975, 76 was a very progressive, very, very big, popular city. And businesses were, they would put up the awnings in English and French. There was not a problem. We had Expo 67. There was not a problem. Everybody came from all over the world, spoke French, English, whatever the case is, went into all over the city. Everything was known, the public transportation was known as the MUCTC, Montreal Urban Community Transport Commission, or STCUM, Société Transport Communitaire.
Right. Okay, I think Sheldon
was marked a red stop.
Sheldon's freezing up. Sheldon, you're freezing up. I don't know why you're freezing up. Sheldon, are you there?
Oh. Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so you're freezing up a little bit. I have no idea
what's
going on. All right, so Sheldon's still there.
And so are you. You're freezing up too.
So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm still.
All right, so what were you saying? The STCUM, yeah.
The bus stops were marked.
All right,
red stop. It was a yellow circular bus stop.
Yeah.
It was, and like everything was fluently bilingual. You went on the bus. You would see the message marked "Safe Drive."
All right, I think.
Please do not talk to me. They would have it in English and French.
I think we're having a problem with the.
Going to a restaurant, you would see the awning in both languages.
Sheldon,
what is the?
Sheldon, hold on a second. We're gonna.
This garbage.
We're gonna
now at all the big major. They had Sun Life here.
Sheldon, we're gonna have to go to break. We're having a problem with the audio. We're gonna go to break and we'll come back. We're gonna try to fix this. We'll come back in a couple of seconds. All right, I'm Howie Silberger. He's Sheldon Fried. This is the HowieSilberg Show on the True Talk Radio Network. And welcome back to the HowieSilberger Show. I hope that we figured out this problem. It's technology, live broadcasting. Sometimes you have these technological problems. So I hope we figured out the problem. Sheldon Eric Fried is still here. Sheldon.
Yes, Howie.
Oh, look now you're not freezing up on us.
Technology is good only when it works. Everybody.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, sometimes you do something live, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
This is
we're
what you
back.
call live radio in color.
Sheldon, you were talking about you were when you were younger, much younger than you are today. Montreal was bilingual, but was it really bilingual, or was it actually unilingual English?
Just the World's Fair, but signs on the highways, everything was. There was never a problem. Businesses would have equal letters. Were complete equal. There was no size differentiation from one language to the other. Again, before we had technical issues, again, I was reiterating to the fact that our public transportation system used to be known as the Montreal Urban Community Transportation Commission,
right.
Or STCUM.
Wow, we're still having this problem. It's amazing. We're still having this problem, Sheldon. I don't know what's going on.
There was never an issue. And I remember, walking around to the different areas of Montreal, the downtown portion. There was never a problem. Then the FLQ came in. The Fédération Libérale group of a few people. They kidnapped a British trade commissioner who most recently died. He lived up to 95 or 96 years old. The Quebec Minister of Labor, Pierre Laporte, there's actually a bridge named after him in Quebec City. So that was the start. And then Premier Robert Bourassa, a Quebec Liberal Party leader, decided, well, French seem to be in decline, and we need to put a stop to this. And he introduced a bill called Bill 22. And then you had Louise Baudouin, Camille Laurent, René Levesque, and you had Pauline Marois, and you had a whole bunch of government, even including the Liberal government, has not decided to respect the English and has decided that they want to further erode the English. Now, considering of almost a quarter of a million that decided to move to other parts of Canada and the United States, they said enough is enough. I'm not inspectors to come in and tell us what we can do or cannot do. As long as we are conducting our business properly, ethically, equally respected, taxes, that's the most important thing, not because this thing with the language thing.
So do you think language
You were saying?
do you think language was actually an issue, or do you think that it was just a power grab, it was just politics?
It's politics, because you know what? French and English here always got along. And
I don't know. They
just
were blowing
decided.
up. I'm sorry, they were blowing up mailboxes in the 1970s. That's not getting along, Sheldon.
Well, that was part of the splinter group of the FLQ. But you don't see this now. You don't see mailboxes being blown up. You don't see English businesses being blown up. But you know, this is this government, the CAQ, the Coalition Avenir de Québec, CAQ. They said that there's no such thing as racism. Well, you talk about that is the biggest bunch of bull I've ever seen, because number one, you can't even wear a kippah teaching. You can't wear a religious symbol. You can't wear, if you wanted to wear a Catholic cross, if you wanted to wear any kind of a hijab, you cannot wear it. That's number one. Number two, you cannot, the language situation is that English has to be a certain percentage less noticeable than the French. So again, it's the size. So you talk about religious racism on the count of Quebec government. So and they say there's no racism in this country. Why don't you take a look, Mr. Legault and other fellow politicians? Why don't you look past the end of your crooked nose and see exactly what you were doing to the population who voted you in? And you know what? This is why Montreal didn't vote you in, because Montrealers are not stupid. They knew that you were going to do this. They knew they were going to disqualify. They were going to put the thing with school boards to completely dissolve the school boards and completely put the educational system in a mess. So you know what? The people in Montreal knew. The best thing, because the rest of Quebec, there's no problem with the French. You go anywhere in Quebec City, yes, the hotels would speak English because you get a lot of English tourism that comes into the provincial capital. But the average person on the street, they don't speak. You don't hear an English spoken on the streets of Quebec City, because I've been there several times. I've been to Three Rivers. I've been to Drummondville. I've been to Saint Hyacinthe. I've been to Sherbrooke, Quebec. They hardly speak English there. So you know what? They have a thing against Montreal. All these provincial governments have this thing against Montreal. Why? Because Montreal is supposed to be a cosmopolitan metropolis. It's supposed to be a city of diverse linguistic backgrounds. All you need to do is go in the Côte-des-Neiges area and see how many different people from different backgrounds there are. That's the problem.
How could it be a metropolis?
Stomach it. They can't swallow it.
How could it be a metropolis, a cosmopolitan metropolis, when you're discriminating against different people? So you discriminate against English, you discriminate against Muslims.
That's what the.
How could it be a metropolis?
That's what the mayor said. Yeah, but that's what the mayors are saying. That's not what I'm saying. Because if it was cosmopolitan, they would let us be cosmopolitan.
Right. And they're not letting us be cosmopolitan.
You know, but I know, you and I agree that it's It's the mayors have always said that Montreal is a cosmopolitan, diverse metropolis. It might be diverse because people are coming from different backgrounds, yes, but the city is not cosmopolitan because the government does not allow this city to become cosmopolitan. And this is the economic engine of the entire province of Quebec. And this is the way they're treating the economic engine.
Yeah,
I think
Quebec,
the best thing is for Montreal to totally partition.
Well, Montreal used to be the economic
But they should
engine of the entire country of Canada.
exactly, and now they're not. Why? Why is Toronto the largest city in Canada? Why? Because people were fed up, and they said, you know what? Enough is enough. You stop telling me what I can and cannot do. And this is why this government is a police state, because when this thing with COVID first came out, and I live in a predominantly English building, 95% are either English or Russian or Eastern European. Okay, very few are French. And I could tell you when the first wave of the pandemic came, all we saw were French circulars coming into our mailbox. The recycling bin next to the mailbox in our building, Howie, was so overflowed, they needed 2 or 3 or 4 recyclable boxes, and even then were full because people were fed up because they said, you want English, go on the website. There's a lot of people that don't know how to navigate on the internet. Yes, you and I do. And finally, there was a petition out. I signed the petition. Eventually, because there were so many signatures, we actually got something in English. Why couldn't they send it in both official languages? Why did they have to waste money on French, then waste money on English? If they would have sent it bilingual, at least in the bilingual areas of Montreal, there wouldn't have been a problem.
But why couldn't they send it?
So look how much extra money they wasted.
Why couldn't they send it bilingual to everyone?
Exactly, but I'm saying.
I mean, whoever wants to read the French part reads the French part. Whoever wants to read the English part reads the English part. What's the problem?
Exactly. So the thing is, look what they spent in printing. Look what they spent on distributions. Look what they spent on postage.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the money being totally wasted. And then they give the OQLF a $5 million budget where it goes to healthcare and education. I don't have the money. Well, we have to go to the cost of living or whatever. I bet you the education system and I bet you the healthcare system does not get a $5 million budget increase.
Sheldon, one neighborhood in Quebec has been singled out as the highest rate of COVID infections in the province. And that neighborhood is Côte Saint-Luc. Now, just the other day, the mayor of Côte Saint-Luc cryptically blamed it on religious Sephardic Jews, religious Jews from Morocco and Spain, and it was kind of backed up by Rabbi Reuben Pupko of the Beth Israel Beth Aaron congregation in Côte Saint-Luc and of Canadian Institute for Jewish Affairs. He also kind of pointed fingers at Chabad and the Sephardic Jews. Now of course CIJA quickly stepped back. They dialed back on that, and Pupko issued a half apology, saying that's not really what he meant, and he was misquoted, or he was accurately quoted, but it was out of context quoted. I mean, there were 2 or 3 different versions of corrections that came out over the last couple of days. Now, I had a problem right at the beginning of this pandemic when the Gazette was finger pointing at Chabad and at different synagogues, saying you had a wedding, therefore you're responsible for the spread. I had a problem with at the beginning of the pandemic where the mayor of Côte Saint-Luc was pointing fingers at different synagogues and different religious groups and saying that it was their fault that COVID was spreading in their city, and totally ignoring the fact that snowbirds had come back from Florida and gone about their everyday life as if nothing had happened, right? So this political scapegoating of religious sects always seems to me to be a pathetic attempt to sow hatred amongst the Jewish community, to kind of break the Jewish community, to kind of divide them between secular and Orthodox. The secular ones are the ones who just want to be safe. We just want to be safe. We're going to take the vaccine. We're going to wear a mask. We're going to be safe. And look at those Orthodox people. They're walking around without masks. They don't care about COVID. They're causing the spread of COVID. And it just started right at the beginning last year, and this has continued straight through the entire thing. And this kind of division is never good for a community. It's never good for a religious community. It's never good for any community. And it's 100% wrong. It's not accurate. It's wrong. I think, Popko said that he was misquoted. A reporter was trying to get him to do stuff like that. I don't care. He's a seasoned guy who's spoken in front of reporters for the last 35 years. I think he knew what he was saying when he said it, and he was trying to send a message to different segments of the Jewish community. Pointing fingers, is that helpful at all, Sheldon?
No. I think also, you know what? It also, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Howie, it depends. No matter where you're from, no matter what religion, no matter where you come from, it's all about behavior, and that's what it is. Now, to start fingering or start putting putting different groups in because they are the way they are is wrong. Because again, it's always a case of no matter what group or no matter what religion, it's always a case of a few rotten apples. That does not mean every single Hasidic was doing that. Does not mean every single Greek or Italian or Arabic or whatever in terms of families that would get together. To single-handedly label people and generalizing like that is a very dangerous. We're going through a very slippery slope. And we have to stop that now, because my message would be not to a particular religion, not to a particular ethnic group, whatever. It's about behavior. It's about knowing that it's about knowing your safety protocols. That's what it's all about, because you could have, let's say 100, you could have like dozens of Hasidic people that will completely obey the law. And then you have one group of Hasidic people, one group. And then because of that group that defies the law, the entire Hasidic community gets blamed for it. And that's wrong. That's wrong. And I've always been very staunch about it, because it's not like because it's like saying you see a black person on the street, okay? The chances are that person that you see on the street has never committed a crime. Yet you see black people commit a crime, so right away you associate that person with the black person that committed a crime, or a white person that committed a crime, or whoever committed the crime. So right away it's systematic, and right away, just because this person is this religion or that religion or this color, that color, right away they get blamed and they're thrown into the same pot. And that is wrong. And we have to stop. And all this thing with being politically correct and all this all thing has to stop. We're carrying it way, way, way too far.
Well, this is even this is beyond politically correct. If they were politically correct, they wouldn't be pointing fingers at minority groups. If they were politically correct, they wouldn't be doing that. But
yeah,
but the political correctness only works one way.
Yeah, but I'm saying yeah. So
political correctness only works one way. Look, they said that it's too dangerous to read Dr. Seuss books because there's a little caricature of a Chinese guy carrying chopsticks, and that's racist. So we were not going to publish these Dr. Seuss books anymore. And then they say that oh my gosh, look at this, and we'll cancel this, and look at that, we'll cancel that. And then if you watch the Grammy Awards, you have half-naked ladies squirming on top of each other while singing about their hot, wet genitalia, and that's okay. So, I mean, who are we fooling here? Who's the fool?
And the thing is, what's gonna happen to also the comedy scene? Because that's what comedy is about, making fun of different people.
Well, I guess we have to see what happens with that lawsuit at the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing. This is what gets me worried. This is what gets me all worried. What about freedom of expression? You're not right away because of this. You're right away saying, you're completely stepping all over that person. Comedy, if you take a look at how we go to the Nasty Show, every year, part of Just for Laughs. Now we know that a lot of things may not be funny, and I know some of these some of these comedians could be really over the line. But also, I look at it as being it's supposedly a comedy. It's their freedom to express, and they don't call it the nasty show for nothing. If they were calling it an angel show, if they were calling it you know, the most innocent show in the world, and then that would be a different story. But it's called Nasty Show for a reason, and you and I knew it when we go down. We expect it.
And I tell
we
you,
expect this.
And I have to tell the audience because it's true. When we leave the nasty show, 99% of the time I tell Sheldon I didn't find that show funny at all. I mean, for the last
you have
for the last at least
like that's the thing.
5 years, I've told Sheldon, no, it's not funny. It wasn't funny. Maybe one or two comedians had one funny joke, but the show itself wasn't funny. They're just being nasty for the sake of being nasty. It's just being dirty and vulgar for the sake of being dirty and vulgar. There's no comedy behind it. You know, I've watched a lot of comedy over the years. I've been covering the Just for Laughs Festival for over a decade, maybe 15 years. And before that, I was always a comedy fan. I always watched stand-up comedy. And there were times where I saw comedians who, okay, they got a little blue or they got a little raunchy, but it was all with a point of being raunchy. It was to make the comedic point. So sometimes they'd say something a little off color just to drive it home, to drive the punchline home. I find in the last 15 years, at least 15 years, that comedy has gone downhill. Now people are, they get up and they say the name of genitalia just to get a laugh, right? Sex jokes just for a quick laugh. It's not that they're funny. It's just that, that's a good way to get a quick laugh, right? And so you watch, it's a formula that they're using now. And I don't know if you noticed this, Sheldon, but the comedians who do raunchy jokes, they use a formula. They'll come on and they'll say, oh, look, hi, well, welcome to the program. It's great to be in whatever city I'm in today. I don't know what city I'm in because I've been in 15 cities for the last 7 days, so I'm not even sure what city I'm in. But whatever city it is, it's great to be here. Go Cubs or go whatever the city team is, right? And then they'll move on and they'll say, the other day I saw my girlfriend. I saw my girlfriend, and then they get into some raunchy joke about their girlfriend. And it's always the same formula. So if it's not their girlfriend, it's their mother. If it's not their mother, it's their sister. If it's not their sister, it's some random lady in the supermarket. But it's always the same thing. I saw her. You could
almost size this.
Yeah. I saw her. She did this.
Setup. You could see the setup coming.
The setup is always the same, and it's always in the same order. So you go, you watch one, you've seen them all. It's always the same order, and it's always the same thing. And then the next joke after that will be a joke about the comedian's genitalia, whether they're a man or a woman. There'll be some joke about their sex life and their genitalia. And then it'll move on to a joke about their boyfriend or girlfriend or a dog or a cat or something. And then and that's really the order it goes in. And that's always the order it goes in. And you look at that, and Brian just texted. He says, look, since Bobby Slayton left, it's not been the same. And he's probably right. Bobby Slayton.
He's 100% right because Bobby Slayton
did
had
not
a really
follow
good
that
delivery,
formula.
And it was more. Yeah.
He was just a funny man.
Bobby Slayton, and I agree with you, Brian. Thank you for texting in. Yeah, he had his own shtick, but he was really good at it. Yeah.
I remember we had Bobby Slayton on the show maybe 6 years in a row, and then we used to meet him at the bar. We used to sit with him at the bar. And,
God, he was funny at the bar. I remember. Oh yeah.
And Bobby was always funny. Bobby loved me. He was funny. And we used to talk all the time, and he was really funny. And the last year he was here, I had him on the show, and he wasn't the same. His wife was really sick, and he wasn't really into it. And I had him on the show, and he was talking about this pink cardigan that he had, and he was going on and on about this pink cardigan, and I'm listening to it, and it really wasn't funny. It was just weird, right? Like, what the hell is he talking about? And he kept telling me about this pink cardigan, and he wore a pink cardigan, and he did a show. He was wearing a pink cardigan, and he's coming to Montreal. He's bringing his pink cardigan with him. He went on and on about this pink cardigan, and I'm like, okay, where's he going with this? Because Bobby always had a really funny punchline. He'd do a long setup, and then boom, he'd hit you with something, and he never hit me with anything. And I was like, that's so strange. And so I finished the interview with him, and he hung up. And I went to the bar the next night, and I ran into him at the bar, and I said, "Hey, Bobby, I'm just curious about that setup. You set up a joke. I mean, you talked about this pink cardigan for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then you never went anywhere with it. I was just wondering what the hell's going on, right?" And he looked at me. He says, "Let's sit down." And we sat down. And he looked me in the face, and he says to me, "This is the last year I'm going to be at the Just for Laughs Festival." And I said to him, "Why?" And he says, "Well, I'm retiring." He says, "My wife is dying. She has cancer. She's dying." He says, "And when she dies, and I know it's going to be in the next couple of months," he says, "I'm not going to have the heart to go out and perform anymore. So once she goes, I'm done." And I said, "Okay, so what about the pink cardigan?" "My wife always wears a pink cardigan," was what he told me. And I thought that was... I thought, okay, now I understood why he was going on and on about this sweater. I had no idea what he was talking about. It made sense why he was going on and on about the sweater. But at the same time, it was kind of sad because I knew an era was ending. This was the end of an era. Bobby Slayton not coming to the Just for Laughs Festival or not performing anymore was the end of a certain kind of comedy. It wasn't going to happen again. And then that's what, it's
He hosted the Nasty Show for how many years?
I don't know, 12.
Ever since it came in, since it came out, it came on.
Yeah,
he
was the first host, and he left for 2 years, and he came back, and he was the host forever. He was a good man. Bobby Slayton was a really, really nice man.
He was a very nice man. He came on also for the CJD Tickle Pete Breakfast.
He's still alive. He's still a nice guy, but I haven't spoken to him in years. But he was always a gentleman.
Yeah.
I asked him once.
He was a very nice.
I asked him once why he was called the pit bull of comedy, and he refused to answer me.
This guy, terrific sense of humor.
Yeah. I remember years ago we had we were in the. Were you with me at the time, Sheldon? Maybe. A few years ago, well, many years ago, we were in the bar, and the table behind us, there was a woman and a kid sitting at the table behind us. Do you remember this, Sheldon?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to.
And then
I think it was the first or second year that we were at the whatchamacallit. Well, now it's known as Doubletree.
Yeah.
But I think they just moved down. They just moved to the new venue.
There was a woman.
A year or 2 years.
There was a woman and a kid sitting at the table next to us, the Butters, and they leaned over, and she leaned over, and she said, "Hey, are you guys like comedians?" And I said, "No, we're radio people." She's like, "Oh, cool." And then they joined us at the table, her and her son. Her son was maybe 12, 13 at the time, Evan.
Yeah.
And
where were they from? I forget.
They were from Florida. From Miami, Florida. And they came up every year to the Just for Laughs Festival, and they sat with us at the bar, that thing, and Evan went and interviewed Bobby Slayton. And it was a great interview because Bobby was so nice to this 13-year-old kid. It was his first time ever interviewing anybody. And Bobby Slayton was just so nice to him. He sat there and he talked to him, and they schmoozed. He introduced him to other comedians. he got to meet more comedians than I did that year, Evan. And then Evan came back every year, and every year he did more stuff for us. As he came back, he sat with us at the table, and he would do more stuff for us. So as Mark was trying to interview people with his dollar store microphone, Evan would...
I remember that.
Evan was interviewing people with a tape recorder or a digital recorder. So yeah, we've done a lot. It was a lot of fun covering the Just for Laughs Festival. Hopefully this year we'll be back. I mean, if they do a live festival, we'll be back at the festival this year.
Oh, looking forward to it. I really hope it really works out because boy, that would be such a kick. Kickstart back for the Montreal tourism scene and for us to get back downtown. I don't know about you, but when was the last time you were downtown? I haven't been downtown in about a year.
I never liked going downtown to start with, so I mean I don't really miss downtown. So I haven't gone downtown at all. The only time I ever went downtown was to Just for Laughs Festival, or if there was something I really had to do, I'd go downtown to do it. But
yeah.
When I was at
sometimes
Concordia,
we go down for the press conferences, or we go down for the jazz festival. That's where I go downtown the most is during the festival because we go down every day. So it's it was a lot of fun. I really hope this year it would be really nice if we can hopefully keep our fingers crossed. That's all we could say.
Well, if COVID allows it, it will happen.
Yes, sir.
That's the way it works, right? COVID makes the decision. Or
I'll name to that.
At least the Quebec government makes the decision.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hoping that they'll decide to ease up on us a little bit and allow us to get back to some kind of normalcy. This is what I'm hoping.
You and me both. You and me both, buddy. Yep.
Yeah. That's it. So Sheldon, we're
out of time.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
I want to apologize to the audience for the technical problems we had this show. It happens occasionally. It doesn't happen often anymore. It used to happen a lot more often. It doesn't happen often anymore, but when it happens, it's annoying. So I apologize. The live stream on the True Talk Radio app wasn't working tonight. So this show was not live streamed on the app, so I apologize for that, for anyone who had to rush to their computer to come and listen to us. I'm sorry for that. The app is playing something totally unrelated to the show. Yeah. It started right at the beginning of the show. We had a technical problem right at the beginning of the show. That's why we started a little bit late. And I mean, that's generally the rule of thumb, right? If it starts off bad, it continues bad. So Sheldon bouncing in and out with these digital hiccups, the screen freezing every now and then, and all the other problems we've had tonight. It's just par for the course here on the HowieSilberg Show.
And loving it.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure the listeners still had a blast because they do enjoy the content of True Talk Radio.
So I'm going to fix these technical problems. We won't have them again next show. I want to tell you that on Tuesday I will not be doing a show, and there is no show next Sunday. It is Passover, so we're going to take the week off, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Healthy and happy Passover to you and the Shema and your family, and all the very, very best, Howie. All the best.
Thank you to you and your family too, Sheldon, and to everybody watching. You. Have a very happy Easter, happy Passover, Ramadan. Enjoy everything that you can, and the weather's getting nice, so enjoy that too.
Absolutely.
And go get vaccinated. Don't even think about it. Just go and do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you again in a couple of weeks. I'm HowieSilberg. This is the HowieSilberg Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network.